Can you describe how you felt filming the last scenes with Kim, what that experience was like?
Well, we actually shot the last scenes between Josh and Riva several days before our last actual day of shooting in PPAC. We went to Sandy Hook, New Jersey, and I needed to do my usual 5 a.m. drive all the way down there. We were right up first thing. I got there at around 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we shot those lighthouse scenes like right away. And then I had to bolt off to PPAC to spend the rest of the day shooting there, and then I had to go from PPAC into the city to do sessions. So that was that was the beginning of a crazy day for me. But having said all of that, knowing that those were the last scenes, knowing that these were going to be the final moments on the era of Guiding Light. There was a lot of people around. I remember Grant Alexander was very present. He was taking pictures everywhere, and people got very weepy. Kim and I just did what we do, the same way that we do all the time. It was kind of interesting because the scenes were a year later, so they weren't necessarily connected to what we had done to the show up to that point. And we jammed ourselves into that black truck with that poor child in a car seat right between the two of us. We could barely fit into the truck, the three of us together, and it looked much more romantic than it actually was shooting it.
Was there a scene or a moment that brought you back to 1983 to either your first scenes with Kim or your first scenes in general?
No, not then, but when I was in Los Angeles for the Daytime Emmy Awards, Krista Tesreau had thrown a big party on Saturday night that was kind of a reunion, and I found myself standing in a room with John Wesley Shipp, Marcia Clark, Carolyn Clark, Jane Elliott. I mean, these are people that I had not seen. I mean, John I haven't seen in probably 25 years. He looks exactly the same, by the way. Although, Marcia Clark, you know, when you say to people, you look just the same. She really looks just the same. She hasn't changed at all. She still looks like she's about 17 years old. And the four of us were just there talking in a room like we'd seen each other just the other day. We were sort of catching up on some things, and that was kind of out-of-body-ish. That took me back to 1981.
Oh.
It was a long time ago.
Have your colleagues on Sessions watched any of the last few episodes?
Yeah, they've backstage. Actually, they had all seen the last episode before I did. I didn't see the last episode on Friday. I saw it on the Sunday night following because I was trying to find a time to watch it with my wife and daughter. My son's away at college, but the three of us sat down and watched it on Sunday night. But by then, most of the people here had already seen it. I got stunning emails and phone calls. I've bonded with this cast very nicely in the last 3 months. We all seem to like each other a lot, and we sort of take care of each other. We've got birthdays happening and births of babies happening and things like that. And in this case, you know, they all sat me down at one point individually and talked about, you know, their take on it, and all of them congratulating me on this incredibly long run. A couple of them had watched the show when they were younger and knew me already and that kind of thing, and that's always kind of cool. But they've been wonderfully supportive, and sometimes I wonder if I've been the easiest guy to work with in the last few weeks, because there's been a real emotional up and, you know, roller coaster kind of thing going on for me. But I feel very safe here with this group of people, not just the actors, but everybody connected to this theater. It's been lovely.
Absolutely. Now, how would you describe Sessions to somebody who hasn't seen it yet?
Sessions is a musical about a therapist and his patients. He is at a pivotal point in his life. He's going through sort of a midlife crisis. He's on the verge of having an affair with one of his patients. He's questioning what he does for a living and why he does it, and whether it has any value at all. He feels like he's sort of falling apart with his patients. He's certainly falling apart in his marriage. These are the kind of characters, as you know, I embrace. I love guys who struggle. That's what I love to play. And then you have the patients, and they all represent different kinds of issues that people deal with. You know, we've got a woman who's beaten by her husband. We've got a guy who's a recluse and never leaves his home. We've got a couple who have been married for 30, 40 years, and they hate each other. They can't remember why they got married in the first place. A woman who uses men, that's the one that he's about to have an affair with, uses men to make herself feel better. A woman who's a child of an alcoholic. So you've got all these different kinds of people, and then I think the nice thing that happens for the audience is that they all relate to somebody in that bunch. Whether it's the doctor's story and his struggles in his life and his questioning the value of what he does, or it's for me, there's a character who can never be successful enough or good enough for his own father. That has been an ongoing issue in my own personal life, and that touches me in a certain way every night. So I think that's what the audience relates to, that there's always one or sometimes two people that they zone in on that character and they get that. And it's a great show. It's a fantastic, some wonderful voices, just voices that I am in awe of and envy of. And again, we all like each other a lot in the cast. So I think that shows on stage, and we've had some very successful. It's been a very successful run.
There is a good amount of tragedy and pathos in this, but there's also a ton of comedy.
Yeah, there is. I think the first act has quite well. Actually, both acts do, but I think the first act in introducing the characters, you see a lot of comedy, and then in the second act, as his world spins apart more and more and more and more, the play gets kind of heavier and heavier. And of course, it ties up nicely at the end because it's a musical, and musicals have to do that.
Exactly. But you're saying it's more of a play with music than a musical?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of songs in it. But even some of the songs are sort of that bantery kind of thing, where there's a song I do in the second act with the character of George, who's this recluse, and it really is dialogue. It just happens to be the music, And there are many times when there's a beautiful song that the businessman sings about his father. I never spent time with my dad, and he speaks half of that song easily because it's a song, but it's really dialogue. And this play has more. For a musical, it probably has more scenes and more monologues than most musicals would, and they're good, and they're quite good.
Right. Now, you were saying that a few GL fans have come up to you and shown that they're profoundly sad about the show ending. Is that still happening? Are you still getting that kind of?
Yeah, I had people stop me on the street. I had people getting weepy with me on the street. Just they'll say a couple things to me, and then they'll all of a sudden, that kind of a thing, and. It's really sweet. It's really lovely, and it's sad too. It's very sad. I mean, you realize that I think people just had an expectation that show would be around forever.
Is there anything you'd like to say to the regular GL viewers, the longtime viewers?
I'm just thankful. I am so thankful for. Thank you for putting my kids through college. Thank you for paying the mortgage on my house. Thank you for allowing me to work in this crazy business for 28 years, 24 years over a 28-year period, Thank you for always being kind to me. Even the couple times when they were pissed at Josh, I still pretty much always had the sense that they still had a great deal of respect for me when I'd see people at fan club gatherings or on the street or whatever. No matter how angry they got at the character, they still seemed to hold a certain modicum of respect for me, and I always appreciated that. And I'm gonna miss them too. We're gonna miss the fans too.